Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Day one of training camp is in the books, happening on Wednesday. We get set for day two. Broncos currently practicing. We're going to hear from Sean Payton very shortly. But who is running with the ones on day one? It's a good question. And to start, it looked like Bo Nix was going to be running with the ones. During the individual periods, Bo Nix was throwing with the ones. But then came time for team drills, 7-on-7s, and Jarrett Stidham was with the ones. And it's going to be interesting to see the rotation. Are we going to see Bo Nix with him like tomorrow, today, I guess, at this point? Are we going to see Zach Wilson with them on Friday when the fans come out? There's a lot of questions about the rotation of different guys that we're going to see with the ones, but Jarrett Stidham won the day. He looked, in my eyes, the best. It feels like he had the most completions, just overall felt most comfortable out there. Bo Nix, it was not his day. He struggled today. Almost had an interception. Was holding on to the ball just a little bit too long. The defense was able to read him pretty well. Overall, definitely not Bo Nix's day. We've seen a lot better days out of him out of minicamp and OTA, so not to worry, Broncos country. But essentially, it just wasn't his day, and sometimes we all have those. Jarrett Stidham looked a whole lot better. He looks like he's been in this offense for a while. He looks like he's been a part of this team for a little bit longer. And then there's Zach Wilson. There's Zach Wilson, and I don't even have words anymore, you guys. I truthfully don't. I don't have any words because the very first, okay, they're doing 7-on-7, okay? The first rep that Zach Wilson gets, he runs the ball. And I'm like, the very first rep we get when we're already running the ball. Like, this is not good. It was a struggle for Zach Wilson. It felt like the entire afternoon. Yesterday was not his day. I just don't even know what we're doing at this point. And, I'm sitting there talking with some of the other media members, and I'm like, what did Sean Payton see? Because this is exactly what we saw out of him when he was with the Jets. So what are they looking at being like, oh, we can change Zach Wilson? And everyone's like, well, it's a first-round pick. They just see that, first-round pick, first round. Like, great, or not first round, first pick. I'm like, that's great, but we need to look at the most recent tape, and man, oh man, does he look rough. It's just not clicking. And he was going against the third string guys. So it's not like he was going up against Patrick Surtain. Nobody's getting open. He's going up against the third string guys. It was definitely not Zach Wilson's day. Almost had that interception. So let me just run you through real quick. First one, he runs the ball, and I'm like, what the heck are we doing? The second one, he throws the ball out of bounds. It might have been a catch, but it would have been a tippy-toe catch if it would have been in. Then he had a solid play to Vele, which looked really good. I mean, it was clearly he has the arm strength. He had the accuracy on that one. It was really solid. And then all we other saw was just run. It felt like he's over here. He'd pump fake it twice, and then he'd run. And you're like, what are we doing? That's not what this offense is about. Okay, we need to throw 5-6 yards, 10 yards. Let's see that. And we did not see that from Zach Wilson. So the struggle bus continues when it comes to him. And I keep asking and wondering, is it going to be that we don't see him until a preseason game? And if that's going to be the real deal, we're not going to knock this quarterback competition down from 3 to 2 to 1 until preseason games start, man, you are cutting yourself short. So hopefully they do it sooner rather than later. But, it's very clearly it's between Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. And I can't wait to see who's going to take the field for one of the preseason games. Essentially, for these preseason games, I think it's going to be Jarrett Stidham, the first game, Bo Nix for the first game, out there with the ones for a full half. And then we're going to kind of have to narrow down and be nitpicky when it comes to that. But, yeah, I think that's overall the sense that I'm going to get when it comes to just preseason. And I feel like a lot of other people are also talking about that. So it's going to be between those two guys. No surprise right there. I'm sorry, Zach Wilson fans. Unfortunately, just not going to be out there. One of the biggest emphasis I noticed, too, which Sean Payton kind of touched on it during his press conference. He likes the tempo and everything. But the other thing I noticed was they are being super quick. Biggest emphasis is getting out of the huddle fast. Let's go. We heard a lot of talk about making sure that they did, in fact, get out of the huddle fast. If they didn't like it, they redid it again, which I appreciate. I like that tempo, and I like that we're starting this early. Sean Payton mentioned how essentially, things are going to start to heat up from here on out. We're going to see pads come out on Saturday, which will be awesome. I can't wait for all the fans that are going to be in attendance. It's a different ball game when the pads aren't on, more of a walkthrough type gig. They were ahead of schedule today, so things obviously were kind of a little bit slower, but also just moving, which was kind of nice. But we don't have pads on, things just don't feel like it doesn't feel like it's quite as football, if that makes any sense at all. Let's see what else. That was the biggest emphasis for sure, is I just noticed the tempo, making sure they were getting out of the huddle fast. We saw them redo it multiple times. So that was kind of cool and neat to see. But let's go on to heard the talk. Who heard the talk? Who's been getting a lot of talk? Who's been getting a lot of talk? Well, the answer to that question is you guessed Javonte Williams. Oh boy. He has been a talk of the town, whether it's shipping him off to Dallas because they don't want him here in the Mile High City, or it's he's not going to make the team because he's being slow and he's not just quite there. He heard the talk because today out at training camp, he looked on fire. It was so much fun to watch him. He looked great. Head coach Sean Payton even talked about him, and we're going to play this clip here in just a second, but, spoke about him and how essentially he's lost some weight and he looked back to his college days, and just one of those things that he had a good day, and Sean Payton recognized that. So we can shut down all the rumors of how they're going to move on from Javonte Williams. Sean Payton is watching Javonte Williams. And if your head coach is watching you, that means that you are, in fact, going to make the team because they want to see what you got out there. And he heard the talk. He looked really good. He was running fast. He didn't seem like he was thinking about his knee at all. Remember how I mentioned, like, during voluntary minicamp and OTAs and minicamp, it's like minicamp's obviously required, but OTAs, it's technically not required. But if you don't show up, then it can be a little interesting. And people can start talking. Well, that's how I feel. I feel like Javonte Williams did his duty by showing up, but he wasn't giving us 100%. And in training camp, he is. He's heard the talk, and it makes me so freaking pumped for him. I can't wait. So how much did Sean Payton gush on Javonte Williams? Quite a lot, I'm not going to lie. And he also picked on our very own Cecil Lammey again as well. Take a listen.
I haven't even seen the tape. I thought Javonte looked real sharp. I thought I'll have a chance to watch the quarterbacks. It's good to see Dulcich back out there and him moving around. And then I'll spend more time on the tape watching the defensive guys. I thought overall I was pleased with the tempo. Guys looked like they've been working. Their weights were good when they came in, and that was good. And then I don't want to forget about Lucas Kroll either.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sean Payton back making people laugh. In case you missed it, we'll play the clip here in just a second. But Cecil Lammey made a statement essentially saying that Lucas Kroll was one of the best players, or the best player out at OTAs and minicamp. And Sean Payton wasn't 100% on the same page.
Coach Cecil Lammey, Denver Sports. I'm going to piggyback on the Greg Dulcich thing. How far behind is he based on Lucas Kroll was maybe your best player this entire offseason? And I hope you had a good summer, by the way.
I do too. But did you say Lucas was our best player or best tight end?
It's arguable. He was among
No,
the
it
best.
wasn't. No, it wasn't.
No?
All right, I'll answer your question,
Okay.
but you're not close.
Tell me who was that?
We expect the tight ends to be back. We expect Greg to practice. I don't expect anyone to be on his piggyback or anything like that. I expect Lucas Kroll to make progress like he has. We were encouraged with what he did. And I think that position is important. These guys present different skill sets. Some guys block better, other guys are better receivers. Hopefully Greg can stay healthy, and we go from there.
Coach Woody Page, I didn't introduce.
But I would go with Meinertz. I would go with Surtain. I would go with these other players if you were wanting to know.
Woody Page, parts unknown.
Go ahead.
He was so sassy on Tuesday. Spicy, sassy, whatever you want to call him. Spicy Sean was back at it. So we definitely all got a good laugh. I've been joking with Cecil Lammey. I'm like, you better be ready for this all season. Lucas Kroll better look good. Otherwise, Sean Payton is definitely going to remind us all about him. But it was nice to hear that he did, in fact, look a little bit better today. Again, I love the Sean Payton jokes with the media. I love that he has I don't want to say an attitude, but he's got an energy to him. And yes, sometimes it can be easy to be like, oh my gosh, Sean, what are you doing? It's still really cool for him to be able to joke and, treat us almost like family in that building in a sense. So happy to hear Javonte is looking good. Another person that was looking really good, Tim Patrick, he had some good hands today. Nothing crazy out of him. Again, it's going to be first year back after injury. We don't expect too much from him. Just see him get out there and play some football. And then Javonte, like I mentioned, obviously that's good. I feel like that's the best comparison we have to what we should expect out of Tim Patrick. Is last year we didn't have super high expectations for Javonte, at least the coaching staff didn't. Now year 2, this is when things will really start to pick back up, and can he get back to the back that he obviously was. Same for Tim Patrick. I feel like we can't have that high of expectations for him after coming off of injury, but next season will be when we can really dive into that. Greg Dulcich. Let's talk about him. He was very involved. He is part of the ones. He is out there 100%, very involved. Gingerly, I feel like we can describe that as he was gingerly out there walking. Not like he was hurt, but just more of like, I don't want to do too much to my legs right now. I don't want to do too much to my hamstring, my foot, anything of that nature. Otherwise, he looked relatively good. His hands were looking good. Upper body was looking really great. So hopefully he can stay healthy and we can continue to see him, impress on that field. But yeah, just very cautious, gingerly out there kind of playing. And then just nice to hear Sean Payton, recognize all of that kind of stuff. Okay, let's see. Now we did all the injured player updates. Now Sean dropping hints. Sometimes when people just like brain dump on you and you're like, did you mean to say this? Or like, what else are we talking about? Sean Payton speaks a lot on don't pay attention to the depth chart. And he'll just talk about it. Don't pay attention because you're competing not for only on the guys on this team, but all around the NFL, all 32 teams. And he mentioned 2 positions in particular when he was kind of just word vomiting essentially. And it kind of caught my attention of like, oh, so are these on the top of your mind of like, we're going to be searching around for, all over the NFL? And one was tight end, which does not come as any surprise. And then the other one was right guard, which I thought was very interesting because we've talked a lot about the offensive line and how they're all going to be together and how this will be a second year for a lot of them besides center and all of that kind of jazz. So I thought that was a little interesting, just a little tidbit of what we're going to pay attention to. I feel like I'm really going to dial in on those 2 position groups right there and see how the interactions are going, how coaches are handling it, what it's looking like, if they're looking really good, or if they could be on the hunt before week 1 in training camp for one of those 2 positions for other people that get cut. So just a little heads up on that one. Marvin Mims did talk at the podium today, which was good to hear from him. It was him and Alex Singleton. He knows the media talk. He's not going to give you too much. You can tell he's excited to be out there. But Marvin Mims did talk about the offense all getting together for Camp Stidham, what that was like, getting to hang out down there at SMU. And then he, of course, was like, yeah, they love Court down there. So it was cool. I also didn't realize that Marvin Mims is from the Dallas area. His mom lives down there. And his mom even did his laundry. And you might be like, why was his mom there doing him some laundry? Well, take a listen.
That work in where we don't have coaches around, just kind of finding solutions together as players.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. We're up here so much with the coaches, so just kind of talking about it, understanding like what we're seeing as a player, especially hearing from the quarterbacks, knowing what they've seen in the past and what they think, what can happen in the game, all that stuff. So just hearing the different things we can do in and out of our routes, it helps a lot.
Marvin, going back, who was the best golfer and paintballer?
Best paintballer? I think it was unfair because it was 5v4, and I was on the team with 4. So like every time at the end, it was like 4-on-1 for me, and it was like, so I got blasted. Mom wasn't happy; she had to wash the clothes, but it was a lot of fun.
I love that so much. I think it's so cool that they did Camp Stidham. Obviously, it's not actually called that. I've just been discussing it, but I love that they were able to do that and get a majority of the offense together, be able to hang out, play paintball. Although, there was only 9 of you that went out there and played paintball. That is totally unfair. But Marvin kind of giving himself a little pat on the back right there. He was clearly the last one standing on his team. So pretty fun to be able to see. Now, that dog, the last thing we have on our training camp day 1 agenda, and I actually forgot another one because this one's kind of interesting too, but we'll get to that dog. I was watching an interview with Aqib Talib today. He was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams, and He's talking about when he was a part of the no-fly zone and why he should be in the Hall of Fame. And he's talking about his leadership qualities and, all of the teams that he was a part of. He wanted to be a vocal leader in that room. And Aqib Talib was a dog. I feel like we all remember that, like a DAWG. And I feel like he would totally agree with that statement, right? There was a level of sass, there was a level of attitude, there was a level of confidence with that no-fly zone. And hell yeah, they were good and they were fun to watch. So it was easy for that to happen. But I mean, we all remember the Michael Crabtree pull the necklace off. That will forever go down in history as one of the best moments in Broncos history. I don't care if you didn't like either of them. It's a great moment. But I want to know who's going to be that dog for the Denver Broncos. Like, who's going to be that guy that like levels up and has that swagger and can go out there? Because I'm not sure I know who it is. Pat Surtain's not like that. He's not like that kind of dog. Brandon Jones, we've heard a lot from Brandon Jones. They want him very much to be like a Justin Simmons. They want him to go out and talk to the media all the time. I don't know if he's got that swagger. I don't know who's going to be that dog. Who's going to be the Aqib Talib for this team that's going to have that swagger, that confidence, and go out there. It'll be interesting, and I'm hoping that we find somebody. I'm hoping there's somebody that emerges out at training camp that just has that swagger, because I do think playing the game of football that it is important to have that. And I just feel like right now there's nobody that kind of fits and like checks that box. So we'll definitely be paying attention. The last thing, and I cannot believe that I did not put it on the agenda, so maybe the last thing's the most important thing. Courtland Sutton was at training camp. Courtland Sutton did the individual team periods. Courtland Sutton did not participate in the team periods. No 7-on-7 for Courtland Sutton. And I thought that's interesting because we do see players who don't want to get fined. So they show up and they go through practice, but they don't actually do anything else at practice. We're actually seeing it with Jordan Love in the Packers. He's not out there. Like, he is showing up to practice. He's there. He can't get fined, but he's not actually participating in practice. And Courtland Sutton obviously still wants to get paid. And I wonder if that's going to happen all throughout training camp, because Sean Payton made it pretty clear on Tuesday that they are not going to be working on a contract extension for Courtland Sutton. So I think that's going to be kind of strange. And I really am curious. I'm like, are you really not going to work out at all in any of the team periods? Like, or is this just something you're going to do for a week and then hope that talks continue? Because Sean Payton made it pretty dang clear that nothing else was going to happen with Courtland Sutton this offseason, or now that the season is in place. So I don't know how to feel about that. I think it's pretty strange. Feels like, I mean, Courtland Sutton has no leverage. He truthfully doesn't. There's no leverage for him right now. He's just kind of there. He has to become a 1,000 yard season, like reception yard. Let's just start that over. He has to become a 1,000 yard wide receiver this season. And then I think he would get paid. I think he would be proven that he was wide receiver number one. But if he can't do that, then I don't see why the Broncos would keep him around. We've had this talk many times. I know some of you are probably going to be frustrated with me and be like, Rachel, just let him pay him. But he doesn't deserve to get paid. So I don't know, but I did think it was very interesting that he's there. It's great. He's checking his name on the box. He's there on the list, but he's not actually participating in 7-on-7. Is that big a deal while the pads are off? Maybe not, but we'll see on Saturday when the pads come on if he starts to participate a little bit more or he still holds out. So we will see. But day one in the books. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday. I'm super pumped for today's practice. We'll be bringing you everything that you need to know. Yet again, back together weekend getting rolling tomorrow on Friday and Saturday. It'll be fun to have everybody back out there and again, get those pads on Saturday. So for that, I will leave you. I hope you guys had a wonderful coffee break and we will see you tomorrow. Bye guys.